Today, we're diving into one of the most chilling and disturbing cases in British history, the story of Fred and Rosemary West. We're going to peel back the layers on how a completely ordinary-looking house managed to hide decades of unspeakable horror right under everyone's noses.
So, picture this. It's 1994. The whole thing kicks off not with some big dramatic raid, but with a pretty routine police visit. Officers show up at 25 Cromwell Street in Gloucester, just a regular house on a regular street, all because they're looking into the disappearance of one of the couple's own children.
But the thing is, those officers, they had absolutely no idea what they were about to walk into. The secrets of this house weren't just skeletons in a closet. No, they were literally buried in the ground beneath them. And the question they were about to answer was just terrifying.
And the answer? 9. Just let that sink in. 9 sets of human remains dug up from the cellar and the garden. That number alone just sent shockwaves of pure horror across the entire country.
And believe it or not, that initial horrifying discovery, that was just the tip of the iceberg. It completely blew the lid off a story of abuse, torture, and murder that had been going on for decades. To really understand what happened at 25 Cromwell Street, we've got to go back to the very beginning. The evil that took root in that house, well, it was born from a truly twisted and depraved partnership. So, to really get a handle on the crimes, you first have to understand the criminals themselves, Fred and Rosemary West. On one hand, you've got Fred West. This guy was no stranger to violence. I mean, he had a long rap sheet of crime and abuse, and was even the prime suspect in a couple of murders way before this. And then there's Rosemary. She meets him when she's just a teenager, and instead of becoming his next victim, she becomes his partner in crime, eventually helping him murder his own stepdaughter. So after they moved into 25 Cromwell Street back in the early 70s, their dark partnership just went to a whole new level. Their home became the epicenter of a reign of terror that would go on for more than a decade. I mean, just look at this timeline. It is just relentless. It all started with Fred's stepdaughter, Charmaine, back in 71, and ended with their own daughter, Heather, in 87. And in between all that, a whole string of young women, Linda, Lucy, Shirley, Therese, all of them met their end inside that house. For over a decade, murder wasn't just some brief spree for them. It was, terrifyingly, their way of life. It didn't take long for the media and the public to give 25 Cromwell Street a new name, one that perfectly captured the absolute horror of what happened there, the House of Horrors. It was a place where people were lured in, subjected to unimaginable violence, and then just discarded, their bodies buried like some awful secret.
And this is so important to remember. These weren't just names on a list. They were real people with lives and dreams that were just stolen from them. People like Lucy Partington, a university student just waiting for a bus, or Shirley Hubbard, only 15 years old, on her way home, and Therese Siegenthaler, a student who was just visiting the country. They were daughters, students, and friends.
You know, what's so terrifying is how methodical they were. They preyed on vulnerable people, young women who were hitchhiking, or maybe runaways, or anyone who just needed a place to stay. They'd put on this mask of safety to lure them back to Cromwell Street, which they had turned into their own personal torture chamber, before dismembering the bodies and burying them right there on the property. But here's the thing about secrets this dark. They don't stay buried forever. And as it often happens, the whole lie started to come apart from the inside, from a threat they never really thought would be carried out. And the catalyst for it all? Their own daughter, Heather. She grew up in that house, so she knew the horrific truth of what her parents were up to. She told them, again and again, that she was going to go to the police and expose everything. And for Fred and Rose, that made her a problem they couldn't afford to have. Heather vanished in 1987. For years, Fred would make this chilling joke about where she was. Then, when the police finally started digging at Cromwell Street, that joke turned into a confession. He just pointed to the garden and said it, that simple, horrifying sentence that opened the floodgates. So with that one confession, the West's reign of terror was finally over. But the discovery of their crimes would leave a permanent scar on the community, and really the whole country, leading to a pretty swift and dramatic end.
And after that, things happened fast. The arrests were in 94. Before he could even stand trial, Fred West killed himself in prison in 1995. Rosemary, though, she insisted she was innocent, but she was convicted of 10 murders later that year and got a life sentence. As for the house itself, 25 Cromwell Street, they demolished it a year later, basically to stop it from becoming some kind of morbid tourist attraction.
Okay, so why are we still talking about this today? Why does this case still matter so much? Well, for a few really crucial reasons. First, it completely changed how police investigate abuse and missing persons cases. It was also this terrifying wake-up call that absolute evil can be hiding right behind the front door of a normal-looking house. And ultimately, it's just this powerful testament to why it's so important to fight for justice for victims, no matter how much time has passed.
In the end, the official body count is 12 victims. But that little plus sign you see? That's the part that really haunts you. Authorities are pretty much certain the real number is higher, with other victims possibly buried in other places, their stories still untold. And that really leaves us with one last, unsettling question. The story of 25 Cromwell Street continues to horrify us, but also fascinate us. So what does it say about us as a society that we're so drawn to these stories of profound evil? And what warning does the quiet, neighborhood evil of the West still hold for us today?